Do you want to do this? Excalibur Umbra is probably one of the coolest and most iconic Warframes in the entire game. And honestly, I think a lot of people forget just how strong he can actually be. Between insane melee synergy and one of the strongest exalted weapons in Warframe, Umbra can absolutely dominate Steel Path when built right. So today we are going to break down why Excalibur Umbra is secretly still one of the strongest melee-focused frames in the game. I'll explain how his abilities work, why Exalted Blade still hits like a truck, and of course I'll show you the build that turns him into an absolute monster. So grab your popcorn because this one is about to get sharp. Hello everyone. It's KB here and today we are taking a look at Excalibur Umbra. Starting off with Umbra's passive. Excalibur gets increased attack speed and damage efficiency when using swords like Nakanas, long swords, dual swords, and rapiers. Since Umbra is already a melee-focused frame, this passive makes him even stronger when using the right weapon setup. Now let's talk about his unique Umbra passive. Whenever you transfer into operator mode, Umbra does not just stand there like a normal Warframe, he actually fights on his own. He can move, attack enemies, and continue applying pressure, which is one of the coolest mechanics in the game. Now for his first ability /dash. Umbra dashes through enemies dealing /damage in a chain. It's not very strong, but I like to keep it on for mobility. His second ability, Radial Howl, is incredibly useful. Umbra blinds enemies in a large radius, opening them up to finishers and completely stopping enemies from attacking. This is a great ability for whenever we need a breather. Now for his third ability, Radial Javelin. Umbra sends out javelins that hit nearby enemies. On its own it's decent damage, but more importantly it works well with his augment if you want stronger melee setups. And finally his fourth ability, Exalted Blade. And this is why people play Umbra. Umbra summons his Exalted Sword, which sends out ranged energy waves with every slash. So while this is technically melee, you are basically deleting enemies from range. Pair this with status, crit, and melee scaling, and Exalted Blade becomes absolutely disgusting in Steel Path. Now before we get into the build, Umbra has a couple of augments that are actually really strong. The first augment we are talking about is Chromatic Blade. And trust me, this is basically mandatory if you are building around Exalted Blade. This augment changes Exalted Blade damage based on your emissive color and gives massive status chance. Which means we can stack status effects like crazy while still doing insane damage. The second augment is Furious Javelin. This augment gives melee damage based on enemies hit by Radial Javelin. If you hit a large group of enemies, your melee damage skyrockets. And since Umbra is already a melee monster, this augment scales insanely well. For the build itself, here is what you can use for the emissive colors. Any one of these will work. We are stacking strength, survivability, and enough duration to not have to worry about casting as often. What do I mean? Well, to make this build red crit every time you heavy attack with your Exalted Blade, you want to cast Wrathful Advanced, which is a duration-based ability. Wrathful Advance comes from the Warframe Colurvo, which you can farm from Duvairi on specific spirals. Once this build gets rolling, Umbra turns into a walking blender and enemies just melt. Now since Umbra is mainly a melee powerhouse, what weapons should we use? Personally, I like pairing Umbra with strong melee weapons like the Darsword, Nakana Prime, or Glaive Prime when not using Exalted Blade. For primaries, I usually like weapons that can soften up groups before jumping in, like the Fenrir or Kovanuker. And for companions, I personally recommend Deathcube for energy sustain because Exalted Blade is going to eat through energy quickly. Mods like Energy Generator or Synth Deconstruct help a lot with keeping the build running smoothly. Overall, Excalibur Umbra is still one of the most fun and strongest melee-focused warframes in the game. Between crowd control, survivability, autonomous fighting, and Exalted Blade's insane damage potential, he can absolutely tear through Steel Path when built right.
If you enjoyed, drop a like and subscribe for more uploads like this, where every video has a little bite to it. Catch you all next time. Peace.